Herzlichen guten Morgen. Today we're going to discuss that Altseason and strong movements on altcoins are just continuing and we're just keeping the bull momentum there. But before we're going to continue, do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and also like this YouTube video and comment if you want to see some special content, as tonight we're going to do the second live stream of this week in which we're going to discuss your requests but also the markets and way more. If you have some questions, you can drop them there at 19:30 Central European time. Let's get to the charts, in which we've seen the topics being surrounded by the dead cross. We have seen topics being surrounded by altcoins flipping towards Bitcoin. I'm seeing targets of Bitcoin at 15k or even as 12k I'm seeing passing by. Yes, that might be the case, but we also know that Bitcoin is currently acting in a support zone and currently grinding up. And what we also see is that altcoins are moving stronger than Bitcoin, which means that also before the actual outlier and the crash, the markets are still being very strong, meaning that altcoins are still eager to outperform Bitcoin. And we're going to discuss that a little bit, but first I'd like to bring up the total market cap, which is a more valuable tool than Bitcoin alone, in which the 21-week MA was lost on Bitcoin, but the 21-week MA was also lost on the total market cap. And what we can see is that during the previous cycle, this was also the support for the entire market cap, as we have been acting above. But currently, we've dropped beneath and we're trying to get back above the 21-week MA during this weekly candle, which means that we're getting back into the momentum that we wanted. However, if we swap towards the altcoin market cap, we can see that also during the entire bull cycle we have been acting above. During the current bull cycle we are acting above, and we are still acting above the 21-week MA, meaning that the chances of us continuing the grind to the upside are significant, as those corrections are quite severe and happen on and on. But most likely we're just going to continue the momentum, given the fact that we've had the crash and the ones that have been selling there are the short-term holders, which means the hype is away, the euphoria is away, the momentum is away. The more the price starts to grind back up, the more eager the people that have been selling on the low, expecting further downwards movements to happen, are eager to jump back into the prices or back into the asset. Which means that we've had an outlier to the downside, but at some stage it's very likely that, given that the FOMO is getting back into the markets, when, for instance, Bitcoin breaks back above 40k or runs towards 48k, the moment that that happens, it starts to overshoot to the upside, as that's the actual liquidity that has to be taken, through which short sellers getting squeezed, but also the people that have been selling at the lows, expecting low momentum, are getting FOMO or getting fear that they are not getting back into the markets, and then we start to overshoot to the upside. And then many altcoins are going to make new highs in their USD and Bitcoin pairs. So that the altcoin market cap is currently holding above the 21-week MA is a very bullish trigger and good signal of what momentum we are currently in, through which the assumption that we can continue grinding and that we still have a very strong summer coming up for the altcoins is still the expectations, regardless of the fact that we've just witnessed a very harsh crash. So when we look at some of those altcoins, and I'll just bring up a few examples. The first one is Curve. I have to zoom in a lot because of this one being destroyed since listing. I'll just put up the 100 and 200 MA as well. We can see that many altcoins have been dropping beneath the 100 and 200 day MA. But what you want to see is that they flip back above. So currently what we are seeing is this harsh crash. That is not because of the altcoin crashing down. That is because of panic on Bitcoin USDT. Bitcoin USDT dropped down, meaning that at the last stage of that crash, altcoins had this severe drop down. And then after that, the topic started of altcoins selling towards Bitcoin, which seems quite odd. But because of that, the altcoins started to move south. Did something change fundamentally to the altcoins? No. And more or less, when Bitcoin remains calm, you can see that those altcoins are grinding back to the levels prior to the crash and are just continuing the actual movement that they have been in before they started to crash heavily. So Curve, for instance, is currently in the resistance zone, acting in one, but we can assume and expect that we are flipping back above the 100-day MA and 200-day MA, granting us support there, and then we can start breaking out of this accumulation range towards new highs, what I meant with overshooting to the upside. This will also mean that I will just put it away from log, that we are flipping back above the 100-day and 200-day MA on the USDT pair. And then we have to break this resistance zone for Curve, and then we can just accelerating and starting and continuing the bull cycle, as many altcoins are still accumulating in their Bitcoin pairs. And right now the momentum and the hype is just drained away. People are not interested in altcoins because they've lost money. The hype is just away. Meme coins are not being discussed anymore. That's the best period to start buying. And it's still hard to keep yourself motivated, that's for sure, but becoming financially free or getting a skill is not a very easy job to do. It takes time, it takes losses, it takes evaluation. This crash was a surprise for me as well, as I got hit heavily, but we are grinding further back up, and this thesis is still standing. So the strategy that we're deploying in our group and the trade IDs that we're doing in our group are still standing. And if you want to see the information, check out the description. You can still become a member. We are rebranding quite soon. But if we look at some other altcoins, Kava, for instance, also had a minor drop below the 100-day and 200-day MA on the Bitcoin pair, but it's already making new yearly highs, which means that it bounced back up, rejected at this first resistance zone, just as Curve is approaching that one, made a retest, and then started to overshoot. So we can see that we are making higher highs, higher lows, and the momentum starts to switch on those altcoins, in which we're just getting into a new cycle for Kava. And that's also what we can expect on the USDT pair. We can see that we are breaking above this level, but all in all, we are just gaining back the losses that we have made previously, through which the assumption and this trend can just continue. And in all fairness, most likely we'll be rejecting somewhere here, make some more sideways action in which Bitcoin is going to make a higher low as well. Then we get this compression, and then we start breaking out heavily. That's just regularly what we're going to expect here. Ethereum is the other one. That is the key momentum indicator for altcoins, in which Ethereum is currently approaching resistance. We can see that we are making higher lows, and we are seeing that we have been testing the resistance multiple times. If we do keep the critical levels, and this one was a critical level, now it's this one, and now we've got this one. So probably this support resistance flip has to hold. If that doesn't hold, I'm assuming we're going to drop south towards here, but then still we are going to make higher lows. The more this resistance gets tested, the more weaker it becomes. So once it tests the resistance again, it's very likely that we're going to break through here, gaining euphoria back into the markets. It also means that Bitcoin is going to break through 48k around that range, or at least 42, meaning that altcoins will probably start to surge with Bitcoin until Bitcoin gets back to the all-time high regions, and in the meantime altcoins will just continue outperforming. So are we going to get a big alt season? The thesis is still standing, and I'm still assuming that they will be continuing their momentum. And some altcoins have been retracing fully off their previous cycle. They are getting an accumulation period, and then they will start a new cycle. So it's time for you to start accumulating. It's time for you to start developing your skill, and to not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll see you tonight.